Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million kalpas. Now we're able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize the Tathagata's true meaning. Now we continue with the rest of the list. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So let's look at tongue and taste, or flavors. Now, one thing I want to talk about is if you ever look at the ingredient list of many of the food that you buy, you may sometimes see an ingredient called natural flavors. Now, have you ever wondered what natural flavors are? Well, they are artificial. So what natural flavors mean are flavors created in the lab using extracts from natural items. So instead of completely synthesized chemically like artificial flavors, natural flavors have their source. For example, maybe a leaf, maybe a fruit, but they go through a lot of chemical process to extract those flavors and then combine with all kinds of different things. So the point is, they don't occur in nature, but they use these different extracts, extracted chemically and combined chemically to taste like some sort of natural flavors, like apple flavor, strawberry flavor, or orange flavor, or coffee flavor, or whatever. And so they are a field of scientists called flavor scientists. They're professionals. They have a difficult job, and they know all these different kinds of chemicals, and they figure out how to combine all these chemicals to make them taste like the things that we like to taste. So natural flavors are not natural at all. I don't know if it's true in other countries, but in America, that is true. So we are often fooled by terms, by names, by the labels we give to them. For example, another example would be trans fat. So people by now know that trans fat is very harmful to the body. For many years, we didn't know that. It's completely artificial, doesn't occur in nature, and it goes to your body doesn't know what to do with it. It can damage cells and all kinds of body structures, body functions eventually. And now, so pretty soon you will see food items say zero trans fat. But zero trans fat doesn't mean zero trans fat. It means below a certain quantity, I don't remember exactly, maybe 0.05% or something, is qualified as zero trans fat. Because in reality, this is, you rarely have completely zero of anything, right? So it's kind of reasonable, but then when the food is heavily processed food, and you see zero trans fat, oh, I feel safe. But if you eat a lot of it, that 0.0 whatever percent may become 1%, 0.5%, and then it can continue to cause harm in the body. And it's also, another example would be alcohol. No alcohol and alcoholic beverages. That's also not completely true. What I found out was that below 0.5% in the US, below 0.5% alcoholic content is called non-alcoholic. So for example, like fermented things, pickles, kimchi, kombucha, anything that's fermented have a little bit of alcohol because that's the natural process of fermentation. But then it doesn't really affect your ability to reason or your normal everyday activities. So then it's called zero. It's called non-alcoholic. So, we don't have to be very absolute about this. Start worrying about, oh, no. It's something it's just a thing we have been living with, right? You pickle something and it has a little bit of alcohol. Flavors, going back to flavors. So a lot of these processed food that we eat every day or appears in the market now, if you look at anything, for example, a McDonald's burger, if you were to make burger from scratch, you have the buns, you have the patty, you have the lettuce, you have the tomato, right? Maybe some cheese, salt and pepper, yeah? So that's about 5-6 ingredients. McDonald's burger has 70 ingredients. What? Why? Well, you have to ask them. And a lot of these ingredients are non-natural ingredients, chemically synthesized artificial ingredients for preservation or for coloring or for taste, for flavor, and for some certain strange things like this one particular ingredient is in there so that when you fry the burger, the oil doesn't splash as much. Now that is not food. That chemical is not food, but it is added in there because it's small enough amount. But imagine if you eat a burger every day, then these things will accumulate, right? So we are eating a lot of this processed food with these things. And we like it because it's convenient, it's flavorful. So a lot of things that people get addicted to, like chips, fries, French fries. Of course, the French will complain that that's not French. So French fries, chips, those things that you just can't stop eating, right? Why? There's a very good reason why you cannot stop eating, because the flavor scientists have calculated exactly the combination of flavors to stimulate your tongue so that you love it and you want it some more. And it's those food items called maximum flavor. It gives you maximum stimulation. You the ramen with these sauces or this flavors packet is also calculated to be maximum flavor. Imagine, some people like it a little bit tasty and some people like it less tasty, right? So the flavor packet in the ramen, do you think the company will give you the maximum or medium, average flavor in the packet? It will give you the enough flavor to satisfy the people who wants the heaviest flavor. Isn't that what makes sense? Because that everybody will like it, right? Of course, people can have the choice of using only half the packet, yeah, or a third of the packet, or none at all. But most people just dump the whole packet in there, and after a while, you get used to that maximum flavor. And then you get desensitized because there is no such thing as a maximum flavor, but you just get desensitized. And only that kind of strong flavor would satisfy you. And then people have to come up with stronger flavors. But imagine what is that doing? These are all very capitalistic, making money. It's about making money, selling most product, and they are not really concerned with health. They're not concerned with their health. They're concerned with passing the federal or the government regulations, just passing the government regulations, but to make you want to buy more, right? So that's why there is a movement to go back to more natural food or whole food, original food, food that you can see and understand that is food, right? You see some of these sauces or some of these items, you don't even know what it is. So we can be easily fooled with flavor. And what we think is flavor is just artificial stimulation. And also in the same way that we talked about before with eyes and the nose and then ears, they're just electrical signals to your brain. Yeah, so you can see how tongue is not tongue and flavor is not flavor. Another way to think about this is how important is your tongue in your whole body in terms of the health or the regular function of your whole body. It's necessary, right? But it's not crucial. If you lose flavor, if you lose the sense of flavor, you still survive, mostly. But then, for many people, that took on a much greater importance than your heart, your liver, your kidney, your bloodstream, your blood vessels. You know why? Because we eat what tastes good, not what is good for the heart, for the liver, for the kidney. The liver and the kidney is responsible for getting rid of the toxins, the unnatural things or the harmful things that you put into your body. So when we eat a lot of these food, these things that's not good for the body, you have to work really, really hard. And eventually, when you can't do it anymore, it fails. You have a liver failure, kidney failure. And when those organs fail, the toxins stay, and you get all kinds of body failures. And also, they probably will induce cancer cells and other organ failures. So, not trying to scare everyone, but how important is your tongue? Meaning, how important is the taste of the food relative to the nutrient profile of the food, relative to what the body needs? Isn't this something we need to consider? What is it that we need? Yeah. So when you eat a whole dozen of donuts, that means your tongue is the most important organ to you, and everything else is not important anymore. So don't be fooled by flavors in our tongue. Body and touch. Previous talks we have talked a lot about the emptiness of the form aggregate. Yeah, the body, emptiness of the body. So I won't repeat that. A couple reminders of the important points that we talked about before. One, where is the boundary of your body? Do you have a definite boundary? Right? Remember the closed circle and the open circle? In the open circle, which is like our body, there's no inside and outside. There's no real division between the inside and the outside. If there's no definite boundary for your body, then the body and the rest of the world is really integrated, right? You cannot really draw a line and say, this is my body and this is outside my body. So in that way, body is no body. And another way is to look at this is your body is basically billions and billions of cells, or billions and billions of bacteria in a different perspective. And so, which is my body? When you think of your body as a thing, an entity, a substantial entity, an object, your body, we're making a mistake because you can't really point anywhere in your body, say, this is the essence of my body. So one versus many. One body, I have one body. I don't have two bodies. But this one body is really just millions, billions of little, smaller things aggregated together. So what exactly is my body? You actually cannot answer that question. So body, no body, and touch. So no form, sound, smell, taste, touch. So we become attached to the body. Really, what we are attached to in an important way is how the body feels, how the touch. So we want something that feels nice. Sex is a very, very strong urge, a desire for people. It's because if you think about it, it's the rubbing of bodies, the friction. Yeah. So let's look at touch, the science of touch a little bit. The Nobel physicist Richard Feynman, in one of the interviews to a layperson, meaning a non-scientist, he gave an example. As you're pressing on this table, let's say you have a table here, or a rock, or a hand, you press down, and there's a resistance, right? Your hand cannot go through the table. We stand on the floor, you don't sink into the floor, right? So why? Why is that? Oh, because the table is solid. But it's not solid. The solidness of table is illusion. If you know that the table is comprised of cells, right? And cells, wood cells. And wood cells are molecules. Molecules are made of atoms. So basically, table is a group of atoms aggregated together, connected together, right? No, they are not connected. The atoms are not connected. No atom is connected to any other atom. So you have just atoms, but atoms comprise of a nucleus and then electrons, right? So if you see a drawing of an atom, the nucleus is really small, and the electron just circles around, supposed to circle around, but it actually doesn't necessarily circle around. So that's another topic. So basically, the space that an atom occupies is mostly empty space. So if you have a very large room, let's say you can have 200 people in the room, then the nucleus, which is the real substantial mass there, right? The mass of the atom is probably like a needle point, very small, in the whole big room. And all the rest of the room is empty, and we think of the room as an atom because the electrons float around. So the point is, the table is 99.999% empty space. But our eyes fool us. Our eyes doesn't have such fine resolution, so it doesn't see the empty space. And also, our touch fool us, our hand. When we touch the table, oh, I'm touching the table. It's really the electromagnetic forces that repels your hand so that you cannot push through the table. You actually never touch the table when you touch the table. You think, no, but my skin is touching. No. Your skin is made of atoms, and atoms never really touch each other naturally. It's just the electrical forces. It's like magnets, right? Magnets of the same pole, they push against, they pull away from each other. You cannot make them touch. So atoms cannot touch each other, not naturally. So when you touch the table, you actually don't touch any table. So when you hold hand with somebody, or when you kiss somebody, yeah, you have all kinds of feelings. Like somebody you like, you love, oh, it's great. But nothing ever touched anything. It's an illusion. So touch is definitely an illusion because nothing ever touches anything. All right, so body is electrical, magnetical vibrations. All right, so the last pair of atoms, mind and Dharma. So here, mind refers to your conscious, and it always functions. So feeling, conception, volition, and consciousness. So all of that functions is what we call mind here. And what does mind think of? What does our conscious think of? Think of thoughts, right? We have thoughts, we have feelings. And that's the Dharma that's referred to here. So the Dharma here refers to not all phenomena, not Buddha Dharma necessarily, but all things we can think about. All things we can think about with our mind. So what do we think about? Well, we think about food, we think about each other, we think about trees, and we think about traveling, we think about making money, we think about staying alive, we think about this and that. All of those are thoughts, right? So mind and Dharma refers to the conscious mind and the things it thinks about. So no mind, no thought. How does that work? Well, first of all, the conscious mind is the thought. They're the same thing. You think about yourself. It thinks about itself. One is a verb, one is a noun. Thinking, thought. Thinking, thought. It's really the same mechanism, right? We already talked about emptiness of feeling, conception, volition, and consciousness previously. So we're going to be very brief here. Another way to look at thoughts as no thought or mind as no mind is this. Every thought arises because of some conditions, right? Thought arises, thought is gone. So it's conditionally arisen. Conditionally arisen. Some conditions trigger your conscious mind to generate a thought or a feeling. But when it is triggered by these conditions, then can you really say it's your thought? When somebody says something and make you upset, oh, I'm angry. My anger. But the anger is come from words and habit you learn from other people and beliefs that he's humiliating me. So all these different things trigger the thought, I'm angry. So what is anger? When it's conditionally arisen, when it's a combination of conditions, then what it is. If you look at, for example, ice cream. What is ice cream? Ice cream is made from different conditions, right? You got cream, which is milk fat, right? You got cream. You got sugar. That's basically it. And then you freeze it in a certain way so that the water particle in the frozen thing is very small, so that's why it's soft. And that's what ice cream is. So there's no ice cream. It's just cream and sugar. But if you look at cream, there's no cream. It's just, certain fat molecules, right? And some protein, and some water, and some casein, which is combines something that combines the oil and the water, that links it together. So there's no cream. It's just these conditions. So thought, in the same way. Thought is no thought, but there's thought. Okay? So now, these kind of analysis help us get a better perspective of what we sense, what we see, what we hear, what we know, what we learn, and what we perceive as this world. The important thing I want to stress here then, in conclusion, is the importance of perception. You look at the world and say, okay, that's the world, as if that's objective reality. What you see is objective reality, but it's anything but objective. In so many ways, what you perceive is dependent on how sensitive your eyes are, how sensitive your ears are, how sensitive your nose, your tongue, your body are, and what your mind think about, how your mind interprets it. And so two people can be in the same setting and have a very different perception of what that space is like. For example, you go to a Buddhist monastery. A very sincere Buddhist, they go to a Buddhist monastery and they do meditation. They say, wow, this is great, I love it. A non-Buddhist who is not interested in meditation, they go there, sit for half an hour. This is the most boring thing ever, right? Why would anybody go to a Buddhist monastery? So they see the same thing, they do the same thing, but the eyes, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind perceive it, interpret it differently, and they see a different world. One sees Buddhist temple as pure, wholesome, magnificent, spiritual. Another person may perceive in a totally different way. And in more ways than not, the world that we perceive is like that. We need to understand the importance of perception, and it also has a lot to do with our senses, how our eyes, ears, nose, tongue are structured. So another thing we need to take into account is the limitation of our senses. So we talked about how eyes only see a very small part of the light spectrum. So what does that mean? How much of this world that is right here, right now, that we don't see, that we don't know? How much sound is here that we don't hear? How much light is here that we don't see? How many objects here? How many dharmas, phenomena is here that we don't see? You don't see the cell phone signals that's going all over the place. But you know they're there because if somebody makes a call, your phone rings, and then you can talk. But as you talk, this information are being transmitted from here to there, and then information from another part of the world is being transmitted here. That's light. That's electromagnetic signal. So these objects are there, as real as visible light, but we don't see them, right? We don't see them. So how much of the world that we perceive, would you say 10%, 50%, 80%, or 1%? 0.1%? And what would a fully enlightened person see? How much would they see? Right? I will stop here. Next, we'll look at the 18 spheres. No realm of vision up to no realm of consciousness. Let us briefly review the importance, the main points that we talked about in this section. We continued with our analysis of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and dharmas, and see how all these things that we are so familiar with in our everyday life there's so much more about them that we didn't know. And when we do get to know them, perhaps we'll get closer to the reality of ourselves and the world that we live in and our interaction with our world. So what are some of the main points we talked about? Mentally review in your mind. And let us conclude with the dedication. May the merits of our deeds reach every part of the world. Sentient beings, large and small, all attain enlightenment.